Beowulf and the Death Dragon of the Deep. It was not so many years after this that in the heat of battle, Hygelac, brave king of the Geats, was struck down and killed. He was much mourned, for he had ruled wisely and well. But the Geats were fortunate indeed despite their sadness, for now the whole kingdom passed into the hands of the great hero, Beowulf. For over 50 years he ruled the land and ruled it fairly, generous always in spirit, a good and kindly king. Never had there been a king more loved and admired than Beowulf. Grey-haired now, even for this hero age had taken its toll of years. He had every right to expect a peaceful old age, but cruel fate was to intervene and deny it to him. We do not always have what we deserve. For 300 years or more, deep in a burial mound high on the cliffs above the moors, lay a hoard-guarding dragon, sleeping all this while undisturbed. So he might have stayed forever, harmless in his dragon dreams, a hoard of gold and treasure for his bed. No one would ever have known of him, nor of the treasure, but quite by chance some nameless slave happened upon this cave. Condemned to a flogging and on the run from his warrior master, he found the opening, and seeking any shelter he could find, crept in and came across this slumbering dragon curled up on his pile of treasure. Heaps of hoard things there were. Seized with sudden terror at the sight of this monstrous dragon, the unfortunate slave wanted only to escape. But one golden goblet lay close by. So close he simply could not resist it. He snatched it up and ran for his life. And even as he ran, an idea came into his head. This goblet would be a perfect gift for my master, he thought. I'll go back and give it to him. Maybe it will appease his fury. Little did he know what fire fury he would bring upon himself and his whole people by this thoughtless act. Little did he know or care how this treasure came to be there with the death dragon guarding it. How in a heathen age long ago one sole survivor from a whole tribe of earls, brought to a sudden and violent war death, carried this treasure hoard of talismans into the mound, for he knew he could no longer guard it and care for it himself. He decided to hide it, bury it where no one could ever find it. Over the treasure he bewailed his grief for his lost friends, for the joys they had shared, crying out to the earth itself to protect the precious tribe treasure, last vestige of a proud people now slaughtered and silent in death, all their harp playing, all singing done forever. So he left the treasure-filled mound, and maddened with grief, wandered the wild moors until death came for him too. So all that tribe was gone, but the treasure remained. Soon there came that way a dreaded dragon, a night ravenger, a foul flame fiend. He was always seeking out hellish hiding holes where he could rest. One day he happened on this same treasure-filled mound. Fate had brought him there and made it his own, possessed it with his power, sleeping there on this priceless pillow till the end of time. Not that it did him any good. Possession was all his joy. So for 300 years, undisturbed, this death dragon guarded his underground hoard, until that doomed day when that wretched slave came upon the place by chance, discovered the godless creature sleeping there, and carried off that golden goblet, a peace offering to his master, so he thought. A luckless man, but the dragon through his serpent scales had felt the loss of the treasure, and hearing the footfall of the intruder, opened one angry eye and watched him go. After 300 years he was slow to wake. This worm of wickedness now slithered out of his hole, following where the fleeing slave had gone. Rage roaring, he circled his mound, looking for the man's footprints, but found none out there in the wilderness. Yet he knew his treasure house had been breached, knew the golden cup had been stolen from him, and was burning with fire fury at the offence. He would have his sweet revenge, that was sure. He longed now for the flames of war, for the fire of battle again after so many years asleep. He could hardly wait. That night this death-dealing dragon came flying over the moors. Armed with fire he came, spewing out his flames wherever he went. He did not mind whose dwelling it was he left burning brightly behind him. In his eyes all were guilty of the crime. If he had his way, he would not have left a single man alive. Over all the Getis land the blazing fires rose skyward. A scourge of fire-spitting destruction he wrought in that one night, pouring out his venomous fire, burning everywhere and everyone with his flame-throwing poisonous breath. Before morning light came to the sky, with the country and its people so cruelly ravaged, the serpent flew back to his hidden hoard deep inside his secret mound. Here he believed he would be quite safe, but he was mistaken, as you shall hear. Beowulf had heard by now of the horror visited on his countrymen that night by this death dragon. His own mead hall, most magnificent of all buildings in the land, the very heart of his kingdom, had been consumed by the serpent's fire. Sorrow overcame him when he saw the ashes smouldering. Grief-gripped and guilt-ridden, that good king imagined he must have brought this on himself, that he had somehow angered his eternal God. When he saw how that devil's dragon had visited fire and fury on all the land by the sea, where his people had lived out their lives in peace, secure, they thought, in the safety of their homes, then anger swelled inside him, and overcame his grief and his guilt. Now the old king roused himself to action, and swore to punish this evil death messenger. Old he may have been, but Beowulf was formidable still in strength and will. At once he gave orders that a huge shield should be made, all in iron. He knew wood would be little use against this searing heat of the serpent's fire. Only with such a shield would he be able to come close enough to the hoard-squatting dragon to put an end to this murderer's miserable life. But Beowulf, this mighty warrior of old, would now go up against this death dragon with his army of warriors. He was a hero who had never known fear. He scorned the dragon's strength and his fighting prowess too. Beowulf had survived battles in plenty, and had emerged victorious in many other clashes since that time when he had destroyed the monster Grendel and his sea-hag mother all those years before in the land of Hrothgar. He was not afraid again to do battle in defence of his people, this noble hero. So he took only 11 warrior companions with him to seek out this fiery ravager of the night. They were all he would need, he thought. But one more came with them too, the slave who had stumbled by chance into the hidden mound and woken the hoard-watching dragon from his centuries of sleep. He had been discovered, this guilty slave, being found clutching the precious golden goblet, so the cause of the serpent's woeful attack had been discovered, and the slave was brought along, this cursed coward, to show them the way into the mound. For he alone knew the inside of the dragon's earth hall, the cavernous lair heaped high with treasure, where the dreaded dragon lay. Beowulf knew how formidable this underground guardian was, how fierce and fiery a foe he would be, and he was not wrong. To the headland on the cliffs they came and saw at last the secret mound and the narrow way in. Here Beowulf spoke to his trusted hearth companions. He meant with his words to lift their hearts, to exhort and encourage them, to banish their fear. There was no fear in this great hero, but the truth was that in his own spirit was gloomy and heavy with premonition, as if he already knew that this was the place and the time of his last fight, that this dragon would be the end of him. His body and soul torn apart at last in the struggle that lay ahead. Strongly he spoke through, banishing all those dark thoughts from his mind. Cherished comrades in arms, I have survived many struggles in my life, and I do not forget any of them, nor the brave war companions who died at my side. I have always had good fortune in these battles, wielding my bright, hard-edged sword again and again in service, first to Hygelac, my king, in my early days, and as king myself now, these long years since. Every battle I ventured I won. By God's good grace, I shall win again today, old as I am. I am the stern guardian of my people, and must destroy this death dragon before he destroys us. I would go up against him bareheaded and barehanded as I grappled once with that monster Grendel. But I must somehow defend myself against the fire of this flame spitter. So I will carry this iron shield to fend off the flames, and wear my mail shirt and helmet to protect my flesh from this fire venom. I shall be strong in spirit, give all in this fight. I shall not run from this heathen horde guardian, however hot and fierce his flames. Wait here for me. This is my fight. It is for me, your king, to match myself against this champion of evil. I will dare all bravely. Should I win, God willing, then the horde dragon will die his death and harm us no more, and we shall win all the gold he guards. Should I fail, then your king will not see this nightfall, nor any other tomorrow, nor shall the cup of mead be with you ever again. If this is my end, then so be it. Strongly he spoke out. This champion of Geats, despite all his doubts, he would still, confident in his power, brave beside his shield, he stood, in helmet and war shirt, ready now to meet the death dragon face to face. He would not shrink from the fight, this survivor of countless conflicts and battle clashes. Then out of the mound came a sudden blast of flame. Waves of savage fire surged out of that deadly tunnel. So the dragon began the battle, breathing out his perilous fire. Without being burnt alive, there seemed no way in, no way past those terrible flames for Beowulf.